Yeah, so first session done, all about nutrition 101, getting off basics of foundation as to what each macronutrient is about, why it's so important, why the extremism and the omission of foods and food groups is not really a great way to go. And what I generally really focus on with the private clients is not thinking about restriction. You know, there is an avenue for that, absolutely, but we're not always looking to take away 500 or 1,000 calories and just jump to an arbitrary number of 800 or 1,000 calories. All right, so we do talk about creating deficits with reducing calories, but we also talk about creating a deficit the slightly healthier way, and the way that I really prefer to try and put as much effort and much focus onto is by increasing the output, okay? And a lot of people focus on just their exercise. Yep, they get obsessed about that 1 hour in the gym. They get obsessed about that 15%. Whereas there's a much bigger picture out there, okay, in terms of the thermal effect of food, the non-exercise stuff, as well as your metabolism, et cetera, okay? So when we look at increasing each one of them smallly or in a small manner, it accumulates into a significant change, okay? So this session, we are going to, look at creating a deficit and picking the right deficit for you. We're going to look at, obviously, the bit of tracking that you have done already in the last 3 to 4 days. And then we're going to look at one of the most popular strategies that I use with my private clients to help them sort of balance the week out where they have enough fuel and food for when they need it the most, but make sure that we still stick on the wider picture, on the end goal, which is the weekly calories at the end, okay? Because if you remember right from the start, when I use my first swear word, it doesn't really matter the difference if you're in a calorie deficit for 1 day. You've got to be in a caloric deficit, over the week and over the month, okay? So we can run a few high days and a few low days to sort of make that work. So let's jump in. Just a very quick recap. We know that fat loss can only be achieved through a net caloric or energy deficit that is consistent over time, okay? And I'll keep drumming it in as much as I can, because it's something that we not forget, but we don't probably or as aware of. You get really obsessed about a particular meal or a particular day, but we're really going to think about the bigger picture in terms of over the week, okay? Consistency trumps perfection every day, all day, every day. All right, so excuse me. So before we start thinking about deficits and numbers and macronutrient splits and whatever else, in order to pick a path correctly and set any numbers or any guidance, we need to know where we are first, okay? We need to know, it's like looking, if born in the 80s, perhaps, like a big AA route planner that you used to have to kind of pack out when your parents driving somewhere. You'll find out where you are, you'll look at where you're going, and then you need to kind of join the two dots together, okay? You don't just look at the end result, okay? So say if I'm up in Edinburgh, driving down to London, I don't just look at London and the M25, I think it's M25, I don't know, the ring around London, right? Because that's nice, but how am I going to do the other 500 miles, okay? I need to know where I am so I know how I can get to where I want to be, yeah? If you're just taking a pot guess, then it's what we call the shotgun approach, okay? Or the machine gun approach, the whole kind of like just spraying bullets around, splattering against the wall, and you're hoping that something sticks. All right, that's generally, unfortunately, the generic kind of diet approach, where out of 10 people, a diet might work for maybe 1, maybe 2 people, but for the majority, it doesn't work, okay? It's that hope and spray, or spray and pray kind of approach, okay? Terminology. So what we do is just invest a little bit of time, okay? Invest a little bit of time. And I know we are super busy. Yep, super busy with work, with kids, with family, businesses, et cetera, but I can guarantee you that, 99% of people out there will afford to spend more than 60 minutes on social media, probably squeeze in a bit of Netflix, maybe squeeze in a series, maybe a bit of Hollyoaks or something like that in the morning, okay? Whatever it be, I'm pretty certain we can always, invest in ourselves 5 or 10 minutes a day, okay, without question. So investing in that little bit of time will help us be more accurate. So it's that one bullet, one shot kind of approach, okay? So instead of just hitting the fire button and shooting all over the kind of place, take your time, bit of investment, bang, fire a few shot, and you'll be so much more accurate, okay? So much more accurate. So in terms of deficits, this is what we sort of talk around, okay, in the nutrition world, in the kind of health and nutrition world, from dietitians to nutritionists, etc., etc. So we have 3 different sizes, pretty much, okay, nice and easy: small, moderate, and large. So a small deficit will be between 0 and 10% from your maintenance calories. Moderate will be between 10 and 20, and a large deficit will be between 20 and 30% of your current maintenance calories. Now, what your maintenance or your average calories are is pretty much how much food, how much fuel you intake over a week that will maintain your body as it is. Okay, it's maintaining you as you are. You're not losing weight, so you're not in a deficit. You're not gaining weight, so you're not in a surplus. Okay, so the longer that you measure that over for, the more accurate you'll be. Okay, for one-to-one clients that I work with, the private clients, generally it's a week, it's 7 days. Okay, but for us, obviously, because we're a bit of a time constraint, we're only going to be working for kind of 3 days. Okay, it's a bit irrelevant. It's the same process. Okay, the same philosophy, the same approach. It's just 3 instead of 7. Okay, and if we had all the time in the world, probably between day 1 and day 28, if we could do. Okay, but clients don't want to be spending 28 days tracking. Okay, they want to do better tracking and then kind of get stuck in. But 7 days is a pretty good starting point anyway. All right, so what we do is we average out our calorie intake that will maintain our weight. Then we know where we are. And the reason we need to do that is because, you know, everybody's going to be different, right? There's 10 or 11 different fitness coaches in the group. And I can guarantee you that there'll be 10 different backgrounds, lifestyles, preferences of food, okay, allergies, you know, all that kind of stuff as well. In terms of body fat composition, be going between 20% up to 30%, maybe 35%, whatever. Okay, different muscle type ratios as well, depending if you come perhaps from a bit of a sporty background, if you've done maybe gymnastics, all that kind of stuff, perhaps in school, or if you've been fairly sedentary, you know, for the most of your adult life, and then you've turned to fitness in the last couple of years, you're going to have a very, very different metabolism, setup, you name it. Okay, that last 5 to 10 years of your living is a big, big influence on where you are right now. So those, what we call the cookie cutter diets, don't really work, because you have 10 different people, 10 different metabolisms, 10 different preferences, 10 different eating habits. You know, if you've been dieting as well for a long time, so any more than 3 years, and you've been doing the yo-yo diets, yep, you kind of gain weight, drop weight, gain weight, drop weight. That does, in effect, what we touch on in session 4, a bit of a thing called fat rebound. Okay, it makes it more and more difficult for you to lose a weight, and your body becomes very energy efficient, meaning that you can easily be around, say, consuming about 1,200 calories, but put weight on like that, okay? Because of that lifestyle, of that dieting history. Compare that to somebody, say, who's been very active, very sporty, very athletic, whatever, you know, and not really dieted before. They could easily be maintaining at 2,000, 2,200, 2,400 calories, okay? Because it's a very different setup. So that's why, instead of just going for random kind of numbers, we really got to think about investing a bit of time so we know where you are. Once you know where you are, you know where you can head. Okay, so that's the gig. All right. Now, generally, as a keys up, if I do program in a deficit for a private client, it's more often than not, out of every 10 times, it's probably about maybe 60-40, where 40% of the time, it'll be a very small deficit, around about the 5%. But the majority of the time, say 50 to 6%, so just over half the time, I actually end up trying to aim for pretty much the exact same number, okay? Because of what I mentioned kind of before, we're going to start having a bit more protein, we're going to look at kind of steps, we look at lifestyle, we look at sleep, we look at all these kind of things. So we can create deficit that way, okay? So I'm not thinking, oh, right, you want fat loss? Well, we need to jump to 20% fat, you know, deficit, okay? Don't really think that. Always start off fairly kind of small, between 0 and 5%. Very occasionally, maybe, you know, 1 in 10, perhaps at about 10%. But I cannot remember the last time I started anybody who, say, did a food diary that recorded, say, 800 calories, and I went straight to kind of 20%, and then minus them from 360, okay? Minus that. All right, very rare. Now, the caveat it's not really a get a jail free card, but the caveat is that I'm believing and trusting what's written down in the food diary and what you are recording for yourself, okay? Now, there's been lots of research around this as well. So this is not a waggy finger or any kind of judgment, anything like this, but it's been shown through years and years and decades of research that we underestimate how much food that we actually eat, okay? So if you had to put, say, 10 bowls of food in front of each of us, okay, the three of us would not guess the right amount. We would be saying it'll be kind of less. So say it was like, a medium-sized bowl of whatever, porridge or Cocoa Pops or anything like that, maybe rice or chicken or something like whatever, we would always underscore it, okay? So it's a natural inclination, particularly with the way society's been going, where we're having portions that are bigger, dinner plates that are getting bigger and bigger, all that kind of stuff, okay? Tupperware, takeaway places are always trying to get, more food out. So it's not just a normal size Tupperware. Now they're getting, bigger, wider, deeper, etc. All that it means is that we don't necessarily record 100% accurately, okay? It's just a cognizance and something to be aware of. It's not intentional at all. It's not intentional. It's just something that is human nature that we'll all do with the best intention, okay? But we can only go on, obviously, with what numbers are written down. So if a client gives a food diary that averages out at, say, 1,800, I've got to take that as kind of gold kind of standard, okay? And that's where it is sometimes. So that's also quite a good reason as to why I'm thinking, okay, if anything, that's maybe 1,900 or maybe 2,000, okay? Which is why it'll be a bad idea to suddenly jump right down to 1,200, because that's going to be way too much of a jump, okay? So it's all these little things that just kind of, you need to kind of just be aware of more than anything else. All right? Does that sound all right so far? And that's been a bit of a whirlwind so far. Cool. Right, so moving on. So most coaches, meal plans, generic diets fail to see the effect of increasing the output as well as decreasing the calories, all right? And this is why my big caveat, my big kind of thumbs up about Group X and our clients is that very, very rarely do we suffer from that hunger, that tiredness, and that kind of misery of other kind of diets, okay? Because we look to increase protein, we look to increase all the kind of outputs, and it enables us not to have to drop down to a 1,200 or 1,000 calorie deficit average, okay? So going back to the very first point very quickly, biggest mistake. So back when I was finishing instructor, PT, all that kind of stuff, biggest mistake used to happen in January, February time, or any time that people want to start making some progress with their food and with their nutrition or whatever else, is they're sitting here again, okay? So this is energy in, this is kind of exercise, this is activity, even lifestyle, okay? So put everything in here, steps as well as your gym time. So what they do, you go, right, okay, cool, I want to lose a few pounds, I want to tone up, I want to feel a bit more better when I'm teaching in front of my classes, etc., brilliant. So what they do is what pretty much everybody does, right? Half their fuel, double their output, okay? Or take on more classes, or if they're a gym goer, attend more classes. If you're a PT, start maybe doing weight training or start doing some really intense WODs, all that kind of stuff, and up your steps. But we always think we need diet, right? The only way to lose weight, the only way to sort of get better and fitter and stuff is diet, because that's all that's been drummed into our heads. So it's less fuel, but you're asking your body to do what? Yeah, more, right? That only lasts for a week, maybe 10 days, 2 weeks tops, before the wheels come off. You say, fuck that, I'm not playing anymore, back into your, comfort food, back to Chris and watching Netflix, all that kind of stuff, right? Because you're like, no, that's just too difficult. And doing it that way would be, because that would be a nightmare, right? That'll be really, really difficult. So that's why, again, we try and maintain our food at a fairly sensible level, and we just focus on one of those cantilevers at once, all right? Think of those old set of scales, it comes up the middle, to those scales. Instead of trying to do both at the same time, we just focus on one at a time, okay? Kim, if you need to head off, just head off whenever. Don't feel whatever. Just disappear, and not disappear. Just head off and catch up when you can. All right, don't worry about it if you need to head off. So yeah, that's, again, we don't want to make that same mistake time and time again. Okay, we're going to look after the kind of body as opposed to trying to drop and increase all at the same time. So macro splits. Why I think MyFitnessPal and a few others will do percentages. Okay, so a lot of conversations with clients who come on board. Oh, MyFitnessPal tells me I need to do a 30-40-30 or a 20-40-20 or whatever, 20-40-40 or whatever it may be. Okay. Now, the reason why I don't use the percentages and a lot of other dietitians and medical professionals don't is because it doesn't give you as tailored responses to your particular need. All right. Since I became certified about 7 years ago, I used to use percentages. Absolutely. I used to, because that's all I knew. But then once I became certified and into the loop of the professionals, the PhDs, et cetera, percentages. Okay. So percentages just gives you a much more tailored approach, because if you're trying to increase overall calories, working for percentage, it's going to increase everything. Yeah. All three macronutrients. But you want to be able to tailor every single one, okay, for your individual needs and circumstances, food preferences, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you don't want a blanket percentage rise that will just go across the board. And likewise, when you're trying to come back down again, come back down the board as well. Okay, you want to be able to tinker and tailor each and every different macronutrient. So now, rough kind of guidelines. Protein so very quickly, protein is obviously on the kind of higher end. So that's the kind of higher end. It's not exceptionally high, but it is towards more higher end. Why? Because we are using muscle tissue a lot. Yeah, we're fitness professionals. We are lifting, straining, picking things up, metabolic stress, all that kind of stuff. Okay, just because you're not lifting hundreds of kilos and pounds of deadlifts and squats in the gym does not mean that you're not using muscle tissue. There's metabolic stress going on. There's mechanical tension going on. There's a lot of muscle usage. All right, so we need to look after muscle usage. So when it comes down to guidelines for different demographics, we align with more a very athletic and strength component. Okay, we're not generic public sitting on the bum, maybe do 500 steps a day kind of thing. Okay, so that's why we're on the higher end. Okay, in terms of what you may see, in terms of health and just general population, will be around about like a gram of protein a day per kilogram body weight. Okay, and that's fine. But again, that's just for like basic living health, not getting disease, not getting any malnutrition. Okay, that's not living a high performance, authentic lifestyle. Now, the bonus of having a bit more protein is that it takes 6 times more energy to digest than carbs or fats. So you immediately start shifting the energy balance in the right direction just by having a bit more protein. Okay, so that's why I set for the Kickstarter, nice easy double figure, double number, double your body weight and aim for the protein. Okay, so if your body weight is say 60, 65 kilograms, double it, you're about the 120, 130 mark. Okay, and bear in mind, if your food diary is showing that your intake is like say maybe 70 or 80 grams and you're now aiming for 120, 130, bear in mind that you're not going to make that jump all in a day or two, even a week. Okay, it's going to take you a few weeks to kind of slowly get up there. But what we're going to be looking to do is find the little wins, start choosing better meals, and then ideally week 1 we go from say 80 to 90, week 2 90 to 100. Okay, we'll nail consistently 100 grams of protein a day for the week 3, week 4. Then we make the other shift to 110, then 120. Okay, and even if you say never get to 130, if you're now averaging at 110, 115, as opposed to 70 to 80, you're winning, right? You're moving in the right direction. You're doing yourself a world of favor. Okay, carbohydrate guidelines generally around between 2.5 and kind of 5 grams. It's quite a wide spread there. That's because that is your usable fuel. For some clients, I've had that between 4 and 5, just depending if they are really busy and have a high kind of base rate, maintenance rate. Sometimes it'll be down at the 2.4, 2.5, 2.6. Okay, again, it all depends on the individual. But the more active you are, the more classes you got on, the higher you teach the high intensities, you're going to be having a slightly higher carb intake. Okay. In terms of fats, 20 to 30% is pretty much the kind of sweet zone. Okay. Now that one's a bit different. That is a percentage of your total calories. Okay. So how to do that is say when you go for 0.2. So say we are aiming for, let's work out just for ease, 200 calories. 0.2 times that, so that's a fifth, quick maths, what's that, 400 calories now from your fats, okay? So it's 2,000 calories times 20%, which is 0.5, okay? And you'll get the calories from fats. Then to go from calories to fats to the grams, we divide the 400, so the number of calories, by 9, because 1 gram of fat has 9 calories, okay? I probably skimmed over that, so I apologize. Protein, 1 gram is 4 calories. Carbs, 1 gram is also 4 calories. Fats, 1 gram is 9 calories, okay? So fat's slightly a little bit different. We don't drop below 20% because that's where it can be a bit unhealthy. We need fats, okay? We need a certain amount of fats without question for all the reasons I mentioned in the first session, okay? I'm not going over them again. In terms of going a little bit higher to the 20%, to the 30% kind of mark, I would probably use the 28 to 30% numbers if clients like a lot of fatty foods, okay? And we want to maybe reduce the number, say people maybe having like 70, 80 grams of fats, and I want to get them just a little bit lower, but still make it achievable. So still give them allowance that will allow them to have, a decent amount of fats. So we're not going to go from 80 grams of fat down to 40 grams of fat. That's going to be a nightmare for somebody to try to stick to. That's why we'll, go a bit higher, aim for about 60. Find a compromise. Find something that is going to be in the right direction, that's going to make it achievable for that client, okay? So before I move on to that, okay, let me move on to that, in fact. So this is where it kind of comes in, right? I'm quite aware that's a bit kind of technical, and it'll be a bit more technical on this slide, but those are the kind of guidelines. For the fat loss Kickstarter, I would like it if you stuck at the 2 grams per kilogram of body weight for protein. Nail that and try to get as close to that as you can, okay? And then once you've gone through this slide, you'll be able to figure out your carbs and your fats and your total calories, okay? So in reverse order, we need to know what we're aiming for, all right? So what we do first is we track and calculate your maintenance calories. And that's what we've hopefully done over the last 3 days. So whether it was Monday to Wednesday or Tuesday to Thursday, you should theoretically have 3 days of calories, all right? So on your logbook, you'll have, say for Monday, this much protein, this much carb, this much fats equals this many calories. Same for Tuesday, same for Wednesday, okay? So calories will be at the bottom, add them all together, divide by 3 to get your average. Easy as that, okay? So for argument's sake, say it's 1,700, 1,800, 1,900, okay? So for ease, I can work that one out. That average is 1,800 calories. Brilliant, right? Now you know roughly for a good starting point, your maintenance is 1,800 calories. Now you can decide where to set that kind of bullseye, yeah? What total of calories are you aiming for now? Do you want to stick with the 1,800 and really focus on all the outputs and focus on all the needs and the steps and the protein, et cetera, you can do 100%, no problem. Or you can do a very small deficit. You can apply 5%. You can apply 10%. Okay, so let's go for the ease, just kind of walk it through. 10% of 1,800 is 180. Okay, so 180 minus 1,800 will give us 1620. Okay, 1620. So now we know. Now we've got our bullseye. 1620. That's what we're aiming for. Brilliant, right? You've got to know what you're aiming for. Then you work kind of backwards. So it's a bit of you got to know where the end goal is. So looking at that London map again, and then working your way kind of back. So we set protein first for the purpose of the fat loss Kickstarter. That's already nailed in. 2 grams per kilogram body weight. So times it by 60 or 65, 70, whatever it may be. And it'll be 60 times 2, 120. 120 grams. Okay, 120 grams times 4 calories will give us 480. Okay, so now we got that 1620 minus 480, come down to whatever it may be, about 1100 or something like that. Okay, 1200. Okay, then we're going to go for fats. So decide based on your food diary, how much fat will you having each and every day? Okay, so say your fats were, say, 40, 48, 44 or something like that. And you think, right, okay, I want to make sure that's, low to moderate. I'm going to put in, say, 25% and see what that gives me. Okay. So remember, that's total calories. So 0.25 times the 1620. Well, my daughter was playing with my calculator earlier on and using it as a mobile phone. So I think it's in her room. So whatever that is, okay? Whatever that is, well, that'll be 8 10, so it'll be 405, okay? 405, 1620, half of that is 8 10, half of that again is 405, okay? 405 divided by 4, divided by 9, beg your pardon, divided by 9 is about 40 or so. Let's call it 40, okay? So you work out your grams of that. So that's fat grams now, protein grams. Now the rest, so you've got your calories from fats, calories from protein, minus those two away from your total, and the rest is carbohydrate, okay? The rest is carbohydrate, okay? It would have been really great if obviously I could maybe do that on the screen or something to kind of walk it through. Not that you're able to understand my handwriting anyway. I'm a terrible left-handed handwriter, but hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, okay? Total calories first, how many calories from protein, how many calories from fats, whatever's left is your carbs, all right? Now, as guidelines, the majority of macros I'll kind of give out, it will sit between, you know, around about 17 to 1800 calories, okay? Round about those marks, generally for like most people, most females, okay? That are around, say, 65 to 70 kind of kilograms, round about there, between the 60 to 70 mark. Again, you know, there's a few variations or whatever else, but that's generally where it lands up. Generally, protein lands between 120, 130. It's around that mark, okay? It's very rare that'll be below 100, very rare it'll be above 140, okay? Fats, again, it's depending, but it's between 40 and 50 majority of the time. Sometimes a little bit higher up, but it's around those numbers. And then carbs, again, is maybe a little bit kind of wider. It can be from about 150 right up to like 250 to 280, okay? So those are the kind of ballparks that you should be looking to kind of play with. Very quick one on the kind of fats, high total fats. The one time I did a DEXA scan was through the university at Sterling, and I was the leanest I'd ever been. So the lowest body fat I'd ever been, it was like 9% flat, okay? Just dead on 9%. The super leanest I'd ever been, you know, really, really quite lean and all muscle and obliques, all that kind of carry on, all right? But when I analyzed my food diary, not myself, the actual uni, I was taking about 36% of my calories were from fats. All right, I was eating a lot of salmon, a lot of eggs, a lot of beef, etc., okay, and I always like a little handful of nuts now and again, particularly in the yogurt. So my intake of fats was like probably the highest that has ever really been. But it doesn't matter, right? Because fats don't make you fat, okay? So it's all about the total calories. So like carbs, like fats, not one individual macronutrient is going to make us overweight. It's the total calories that always shift that, yeah? All right, so don't be scared to put fats up to 30 perhaps if you wish, you know, if it suits you a bit better, all right? Or don't be afraid to maybe keep fats fairly low. If you're used to having a lot of low-fat food and low-fat sauces and stuff, and your fats are quite low, make it 20%, okay? Don't go lower 20, make 20%. And if that means that you've got quite a bit of carbohydrate now, that's cool. That's fine, eh? Totally fine. All right. Total calories is always going to be the key. And obviously, while we have check-ins with clients and stuff, is track, monitor, tweak. Okay, track, monitor, tweak. Your body will be giving you the feedback to tell you what's working, what's not working, blah blah blah, kind of stuff. Might be a few days, obviously, to get used to kind of things, but obviously, with the 21-day fat loss Kickstarter, we are trying to not really force it, but we are trying to, you know, make it what it is, right? It's a Kickstarter, it's a challenge. You know, we are wanting to kind of get the ball rolling real quick, but don't be afraid to think kind of longer term. Yeah, think a long term. We're not going to nail everything perfect right from the start, and as long as you're moving in the right direction, then that's winning, right? That's successful stuff. I'll put up a post today on social media about consistency over perfection. That's exactly it. Okay. So a lot of people will think about the all or nothing, or unless I'm getting 120 grams of protein, I'm failing. But you're getting 105, 110. That's 30 more grams than you were before. Like, that's cool. Yeah. All right. Be kind of kind on yourself that way as well. High-low strategy. So I'm really conscious of the time, very conscious of the time. I don't know what I was thinking for 30 minutes. That was a joke. All right. So most popular strategy that I use with clients, just because, right, this isn't my one-trick pony by any means, but this is what majority of fitness clients I work through will have a couple of really, really busy days and a couple of kind of like fairly low kind of days, and sometimes like no days, okay? And the best way to kind of strategize or approach that is with a high-low kind of strategy. Okay, there are other strategies in the locker. Do not worry about fasting and about a single low day, etc. And obviously just one set of macros the whole way through, of course. But this is what sort of comes through the majority of the time again. So again, we start with the weekly average, and then look at the diary. So you can look at your own diary and think about which are your very busy days. And that would generally be, I define that as 2 hours or 2 classes or more, okay, of teaching. A single class or a no teaching class, there will be classes a low day. And generally you might have a 5-2 split, a 4-3 split, a 3-4 split, whatever it may be, okay? But so you got 4 high days and then 3 fairly low days. Brilliant. We can now, to keep that average, you know what we do? So the average is literally right here at my kind of lips. If we put a few high days up here, a few low days down here, over the week, it averages itself out, okay? Because it's the week that we want, not that single day, yeah? All right, so that's pretty much it. That's the big picture, all right? And if you want to aim for your weekly, okay, then if you're using the same example, 1620 is going to be your new deficit goal per day, times it by 7, that's your weekly target. And then come Sunday night, how far away are you from your weekly target? If you're within 10%, you're winning, yeah? Okay, simple as that. It's like getting paid, maybe that's a bad example, getting paid, but getting paid at the end of the month, we've got 4 weeks to kind of spread that out. Yeah, it doesn't always work, obviously, but we've got 4 weeks to kind of spread out that kind of money. If we blow away all of our stuff in the first 2 weeks, all right, first, you know, then obviously we're going to need to be kind of really mindful in later weeks. Calories is the exact same, all right? Calories is the exact same. Here's an example. So I always like to be really, you know, open, transparent. This is what I'm kind of talking about. So I'm not going to stay on the slide for too long, but once you watch it back or whatever else, then just press pause and have a quick little look. But this is an example of exactly what I'm talking about, okay? So when I was saying, you're going to see exactly what I'm saying, do to my private clients, I was not talking on my ass, all right? That's pretty much it. We got a couple of high days there, 4 high days, 2 and 3 grams per kilogram body weight for protein and carbs, fats at 25%, and there it works out, right? So on the high days, 1750, low days, 1550. And the average would be just about above 1650 somewhere, about 1680 perhaps, something like that, okay? So you can see from the food diary there, total 7020, okay? And I'm averaging out, that was the previous one, 7047. So exactly what I said before, I don't jump, no, you know, we shouldn't be jumping from, oh, my food diary says my average is 1800, right? 1200 calories is my target, right? Not a good idea, okay? Spend the first 2-3 weeks, perhaps at that number, but focusing on a lifestyle. And then you can bring in a small 5-10% kind of gap, okay? Don't need to be too drastic, too extreme for, well, too soon, okay? Cool, move on. So nearly there. Each session, we choose another 2 habits. So this is habit building, okay? At the end of the 6 weeks, we don't do the habits on the session 6, so there'll be 10 habits in total, the 5 times 2. 5 of them will be mine, 5 of them will be yours, okay? It's habit building. So we don't replace those first 2 habits, we add these ones on top, okay? So this would effectively be habit number 3, and habit number 4. So habit number 3, following on from the kind of bit of gratitude, at the end of the night, okay, your homework or your task for the Fat Loss Kickstarter is the end of the night when you get into kind of bed, set your phone or your alarm or turn off the light or whatever it is, okay, that you do. I want you to think, you can write it down in the exact same journal of your gratitude log, okay, write down the exact same place, phone or notepad, wherever, but literally, don't just think it, write it out. Huge difference, okay? Today, I liked how I, ... anything, okay? Today, I liked how I helped out a new participant in class that didn't know which way to hold the body pump bar, kind of thing, okay? Today, I stayed at work for the next 10 minutes to help out a colleague who was struggling. Today, I helped an old lady cross the road. Today, although I was wanting to get home, because I'm just wanting to get home and chill out, okay? And there was a heavy traffic, I still let the man in the white van out of the busy T-junction or something like that, okay? Whatever it is, okay? The point of this one is that I want you to focus on something that you like about yourself, okay? How you reacted to a situation today. Were you a bit patient? Were you quite empathetic? Okay, were you kind? Were you caring? Okay, something that you did today you will like about. You just need to turn your attention to it, because we are very, very easy at critiquing, demoralizing, talking down to ourselves, etc., etc., etc. Okay, what we are not good at is bigging ourselves up. All right, we'll have campaigns, which obviously fully agree with, the Be Kind campaign and campaign for all this kind of stuff. But the last person that we generally look after sometimes is ourselves. All right. So in the morning, we're going to start with a bit of gratitude. Okay. And in the evening, we're going to give ourselves a mental pat on the back. We'll say, today, I liked how for today with myself would just be how well I played for Barbies for literally what seemed like an eternity. Okay. Because that's all I did today. Went for a swim, came back, and it was more Barbies, more Barbies. Okay. And my daughter is very particular. You cannot step out of her script or what's going on in her head. So you've got to do it like this. No matter how illogical it sounds, you've got to follow that pattern. Do not jump ahead of her bedtime routine or whatever. Okay, so that's something for myself. Okay, whatever it is for you, you'll have something today that you would like about yourself. Start liking yourself more. Start bigging yourself up more. Start praising yourself more, and being aware of all these great things. Okay, that you bring to the table. So number 4 is something along those lines. Yep, you make your habit for number 4. That is the homework, okay? Now with the food activity diary, all right, so go away, spend some time. You've got your 3 totals, protein, fats, carbs, and totals. Average them out, okay? Set the bullseye. Do you want to keep it the same, or do you want to set a small deficit? Try and work at the numbers. So protein's already set for you. Then all you do is figure out your fats and your carbs, keeping in mind what the end goal is, okay? Have a look at the high-low strategy. Is that something that would work well for you? Or are you maybe just preferred, maybe for ease, just to have 1 set throughout the week? Not a problem, okay? Not a problem. Whatever works for you best. And then think about the habits as well, and build them on to habit 1 and habit 2, all right? Well, obviously, I'll be sending out an email. I think I'll be sending one out for on Sunday with your habit tracker number 2 and your next free ebook. So have a look out for the emails on Sunday. But at the end of Sunday, ideally, you should have your habit tracker with the 7 days and the 9 kind of columns. All right. And what I want you to do is add them all up. 9 times 7 is 63. You'll have 63 squares. Okay. Do not cheat. You're only cheating yourself. But add up your squares, do the ticks and the crosses, whatever else, and give yourself a score. That will be your habit score for week 1. Okay, setting the ballpark and the ballpark rolling. All right, and it'll take a little while. The week 1 will be, week 1. It's anything first, taking time to get the fruit and the veggies in, the sleep, the steps, the protein, etc., etc. But by the end of the week 1, hopefully we kind of get into a bit of a groove. Hit week 2, hit it really running, really, really hard. All right. Session 3 is booked in obviously for Monday. Can't remember the time. It'll probably be morning, I think, morning time. All right, so probably 9 or 10. It'll be morning time at least anyway, and it will be fat loss myths, I believe. Fat loss myths. All right. So big kind of session. 45 minutes into it again. I do apologize, but take your time, rewind it again if you need to go through that kind of technical stuff. Otherwise, ping me a message on WhatsApp or on Instagram if you have any thoughts or any questions or any queries. Okay. But that's it. There is on Linktree. There is a download as well as a recorded workshop that I speak for about 60 minutes. I know it might be a bit of a stretch at the moment, but it's about how to calculate your macros and your calories. So this session would be kind of expanded a little bit kind of longer, okay? Be a bit more detailed. You will see the numbers and all the figures, that kind of stuff. So if that was a bit a bit confused with that, then feel free to go to my Linktree and Instagram, download the kind of free download, which is just obviously text, or there'll be a link, I think it's the first one, a link to YouTube, which will have the how to calculate your macro and calorie workshop, which is a video, obviously, for about 60 minutes worth. So it's a little bit more detailed, okay? Step by step, a little bit better than this squeeze in for 30 minutes, okay? Or 45. All right, cool. Dash, have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining us. And we shall see you on Monday, hopefully.